What's up, everybody? It's Bobby from Bobby's Big Board, and today we're talking 5 players you should be selling high in Dynasty after the 2025 NFL Draft. Whether it's hype, situation, or draft fallout, these guys are at peak value right now, and it's time for us to cash in. Hey. All right, guys, so at number 5 on my sell high list, we have Achane, running back for the Miami Dolphins. He ended up as the RB5 last year, but that was mainly due to a lot of passing work for him. 5'9", 188 pounds, super fast running back. I mean, he can take it to the house from basically anywhere, and that's kind of what he's done over the past couple seasons. He's been like a 10 for 25, 30 yard guy, and then he'll bust a 60 yard play out of nowhere. And there's a lot of things with me that have him as a sell high for me. So the first thing is the Dolphins offense last year could not run the ball with him efficiently at all. Outside of some big time plays where he busted one for 20 or 30 yards, he was terribly inefficient outside of that. Yeah, you can blame the guard play for the Miami Dolphins, which was atrocious, but they really didn't do too much in terms. I think they got one guard in the draft, but outside of that, I still don't think they're able to run the ball with him efficiently. He's not the most efficient back coming out of college either, so he's mainly passing oriented, so like he's going to rely on the dump offs, and with the offense needing a spark next year, I don't think he's utilized as much in the passing game. And I think they're going to go back to Tyreek Hill, who will be fully healthy, and Jalen Waddle, who will also be fully healthy. I know Jonnu Smith is still there, so we'll see. I know they drafted Ollie Gordon as their like goal line guy, so I think that will affect him a little bit as well. Not much, but all in all, I think with the value that he's at right now, I'd cash in on that RB5 performance because I do not see him doing that next year at all. So looking at some trades for Achane made over the past few days, I looked at the Keep Trade Cut trade database. It's a pretty handy tool all in all. And literally today, Achane and a second round pick was good enough to be traded for BTJ and Taj Brooks. Taj Brooks is kind of an afterthought, but he had a fantastic year last year at Texas Tech and lands in a Bengals offense that doesn't really have much behind Chase Brown, so I do think he's going to be utilized a little bit here. But the main star in this trade is BTJ. I think he's worth probably 2 firsts by himself. I kind of value Achane around a mid to late first. And all of these trades right now, much more than that. So absolute smash for the BTJ side. If I was offered this, I would immediately take it and say thank you for the Brian Thomas Jr. share. Next up, a few days ago, yesterday actually, Achane and a first round pick next year gets you Malik Nabers in a 2027 second rounder. I will say I'm higher on the 2027 class than I am the 2026 class. So it is good that you get a 2027 second out of this. I think Malik Nabers is another one of those wide receivers that's worth around 2 firsts, maybe a 1.5 first, something like that in terms of value. So this is an absolute steal. Maybe not as good as the BTJ trade, but Malik Nabers is an absolute stud. Put up some great numbers last year with Drew Lock at quarterback, basically. So give me the Malik Nabers side for sure. Then the first one where it could go either way depending on how you look at it, but I much prefer Garrett Wilson. You have Achane straight up for Garrett Wilson. I'll be honest, I would rather have the wide receiver that's probably going to play 6 or 7 more years versus Achane, who's gotten hurt a couple times. He relies on explosion and pass game basically, and both of those things in my opinion are not sustainable for multiple seasons. So give me the Garrett Wilson side for this 100%. And then 2 days ago, the last trade we'll go over here, we had Achane straight up for Derrick Henry and Chuba Hubbard. Now, I will say in terms of long-term, the Derrick Henry side's probably not the best. Chuba and Rico Dowdle will be... I think Chuba will still be the workhorse in Carolina, but Rico will be a little bit annoying. Think like Tyler Algier with the Falcons if you're a Bijan owner. Now, with Derrick Henry, I think he's probably a top 8 running back next year. So if you're wanting to win now, I think this is a clear smash for you. But basically the point of this is you can get some very solid value for Achane right now. And I'm 100% taking any package that looks remotely like the first 2 trades. All right, up next, another polarizing wide receiver here. We have Nico Collins out of the Houston Texans. So, yeah, you see his finish last year. He was the wide receiver 23. Due to injury, he's had some, injury problems over the past, 3-4 years. I want to say it was a hamstring this year that was putting him out, but obviously great size, 6'4", 215. Has put up some elite production when he's on the field. Had a great season in 2023 as well. My problem is with him is 1, the injuries, and 2, they brought in 2 very talented wide receivers. Jalen Noel in the 3rd round, who I think is an excellent slot option. And then you have Jaden Higgins, who I'm not as high on as consensus, but he'll probably be the other outside X receiver. So all in all, he's got a lot of competition to compete with now. On top of that, he has the injury concerns. And weirdly enough, when he was going crazy last season, you see, his value hasn't gone down that much compared to when he was balling out in 2023. And in my opinion, if you're showing injury concerns, consistent injury concerns, and finishing as the wide receiver 23, yes, context, he was injured, but all of that are kind of red flags for me, and his value hasn't gone down at all. And you're going to see what you can get for him during this time right now. So looking at some trades made for Nico Collins over the past few days. Today, Nico Collins and Mark Andrews straight up for Jahmyr Gibbs. That's in a 32-man league, so not sure how the values look there. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in the NFL, and he's young. I didn't mention this, but Nico Collins is already 26. Mark Andrews is way over the hump now, coming off, basically costing the Ravens a playoff game. So his confidence probably isn't the best right now, but smashing the Jahmyr Gibbs side, he's my RB2 in Dynasty right now and hasn't shown any durability concerns for me. So I do value Nico Collins as around the 103 to the 106, somewhere in there in terms of draft capital. So that's what you're kind of looking for in terms of getting value for Nico Collins if you're just wanting a basic Nico for capital trade. But the next trade was yesterday. We had Nico Collins for Rome Odunze in the 111. Listen, guys, I know people are trying to fade all of these Bears pass catchers now because of the addition of Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. But guys, we can't ignore what Rome Odunze was drafted at last season and the talent that Rome Odunze brings. He was the wide receiver 3 last year and put up over 700 yards in one of the worst play calling situations in last year. He did that well in one of the worst offensive situations he could have been in. And next year he has the guy that's put up back-to-back top 5 offenses in the NFL, I believe, and Ben Johnson as his head coach now. So for me, Rome Odunze is a hold for sure. If you have him, don't move off of him. I wouldn't move off any of the Bears pass catchers right now, just so we can see who Caleb is targeting. Is it going to be like a Packers situation where everybody is getting their little bit of targets? Or is it going to be something else, like maybe Rome's getting a bunch of targets like the Michael Penix, Drake London situation? We'll just have to see. But in terms of this trade, Nico Collins for Rome Odunze, which I value Nico Collins slightly over Rome Odunze, but not enough for it to offset a 111 pick. So I'm smashing the Rome side here 100% all day. And then this one kind of tripped me out a little bit, guys. Justin Jefferson's one of my favorite players in the NFL. And if I have him in a few dynasty leagues, I am not trading him unless it is for a crazy price. And I've turned down some crazy deals already. But in this situation, you're getting him for Nico Collins, the 108 and the 408, which is insane value for Justin Jefferson. So I'm taking that all day. Now, this last trade here, we got Nico Collins for Drake London straight up. Drake London's going over him in startup drafts. So, you know, I'm taking Drake London all day here. But yeah, all in all, smashing all these trades every single day, including Sunday. All right, up next is a wide receiver that we've been hoping to break out for many seasons now. Former first-round pick. Finally gets his breakout year in, I believe, like year 4 now. Jerry Jeudy for the Browns had a fantastic season last year. I want to say it was over 1,200 yards, 1,300 yards, something like that. But looked great last year. Jameis Winston literally spoon-fed him the ball over the few games that he started. And you see his value. It was basically in the dirt this time last year. And he has climbed up boards a lot. He finishes the wide receiver 12 last year. And I'm not doubting Jerry Jeudy as a talent, but we saw what he did when there was no quarterback around him with the Broncos. We don't know who's throwing him the ball. If it's Joe Flacco, maybe Judy's a hold. If it's Kenny Pickett, definitely sell. If it's Deshaun Watson, I don't think he ever starts another game. I know he's not starting a game this year. I don't think he starts another game for the Browns in his career. He might be done in terms of NFL in general for him. Outside of that, you have the rookies, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I like Dillon Gabriel as a talent, but I don't know if he's going to be able to elevate the offense to a point to where Jeudy can be fantasy relevant. I'm seeing some trades for Jerry Jeudy that I would 100% be taking right now. So if you got a Jerry Jeudy truther in your league that's really interested in him, I'm selling him right away. So looking at some trades Jerry Jeudy has been involved in over the past few days, straight up today, Jerry Jeudy was moved for a 2027 first round pick. I don't care if that's the 112 or the 103. It does not matter. I am taking that for Jerry Jeudy any day of the week because I can use that 2027 first rounder to get a better wide receiver, in my opinion. So love the 2027 class. Like I've said a couple times in this video already, I'm taking this all day. Next up, you're going to see a theme here where you can use Jerry Jeudy and another wide receiver too to basically tier up your wide receiver room. So in this example, you got Jalen Waddle, who's a mid to high end RB, not RB, but wide receiver 2. And then Jerry Jeudy, who I view around the same, if not worse. I think he's definitely worse in terms of value than Waddle. But you get Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is in an offense with barely anyone competing with him. I think Cooper Kupp is there, but he's very injury prone. And with that, JSN's going to be the only target there in that offense. So I love that for JSN. And Austin Eckler, you can start when you're in a pinch maybe a couple times a year, but he's basically a throw in here. I would probably do it for JSN straight up for both of these guys. It just depends on your team outlook, but that's kind of what I'm getting at here. You can use Jerry Jeudy and another wide receiver too to tier up to one of the higher end elite wide receivers. And I think JSN, with what he did last year in terms of being that PPR machine like we expected him to be, I think this is worth it. I will say one thing of note for Austin Eckler. They did draft a guy that I did enjoy in college. It was Jakrowski Merritt. He is a absolute elusive burst machine. Didn't get to play any last year just because of some eligibility issues, but I think that probably hurts Austin Eckler if he even plays with the Commanders very much next year. He might get cut, honestly, so we'll see. Up next, another example of tearing up to a better wide receiver. You get DJ Moore, who is, I believe, 28 now, and in that crowded Bears offense, like I said, probably hold the Bears receivers right now until we get a gauge on who's being targeted in that offense, like I said earlier. But DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, and Kareem Hunt, or Drake London, and one of the better handcuffs, in my opinion, in the NFL right now, in Will Shipley. Now, if Saquon goes down, I think Will Shipley's value skyrockets. I did like Will Shipley from what I saw of him in college. So far hasn't gotten very much work in the NFL just because Saquon Barkley is a monster. Now, Drake London, on the other hand, I can't ignore what I saw over the last 2 games of the season with Michael Penix starting. He targeted Drake London an insane amount. I think he had like 52 points over the last 2 weeks of the season. Drake London did, just because Penix was just throwing up balls to Drake London over and over and over again. This one's an interesting one because I do value DJ Moore a little higher than others, just because I do think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in that offense next year, or this season rather. But I think I take Drake London here. I tier up and take the value here, but it is a fairly close trade. All right, then up next, you have the 103 and Jerry Jeudy, straight up from Malik Neighbors. I don't think we even have to talk about this one very much. Malik Neighbors, like I said, is worth multiple firsts in my opinion. I think Jeudy is around the early to mid second in my opinion. And then the early first, I don't think it matters. I think I'm slamming Malik Neighbors all day. So all in all, if you can work a trade where you're using Jerry Jeudy and another wide receiver 2 to get one of those top 10 wide receivers, I think you should do that all day. So, and speaking of Michael Penix, just earlier, he is also on this list. So Michael Penix, the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, lands up on this list for me for a few reasons. One, we have no idea how good he is yet. Over the past, couple games, I will say one of the interceptions was completely on Kyle Pitts and not him. But from what I saw, rookie quarterbacks, you never can tell, right? They can take a big leap forward. But in the few starts that I saw, I just wasn't super impressed with him. He's already 25 years old, is basically a zero in the rushing department. I mean, he cannot scramble and get you extra yards. He won't. So that already caps his ceiling massively. But you look at him over the past year, he's done nothing but start 2 games where he's thrown, I think, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, I believe, or 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Not great stats, guys. And his value has just slowly gone up and up and up and up and up. We knew he was going to be the starter in 2025 when they drafted him. We knew that. We knew that when he got drafted. But yet his value has creeped up. And like I said, I don't know. He has no rushing upside. Even if he is a Jared Goff level passer, his value, in my opinion, is just not worth what he's going for at this moment in time. We'll look at the trades in just a second. All right, so going ahead and looking at some trades, like I said, over the past couple of days with Michael Penix, we've gotten a 2026 first rounder and Penix straight up for Patrick Mahomes. Like I said, we have no idea how good Penix is. He could be very average starter. He could be slightly above average. Like I said, I think his ceiling is like a Jared Goff type of quarterback. We know what Patrick Mahomes is. Yeah, he hadn't had the best season over the past couple years, but they're coming off that Super Bowl loss. I think the Chiefs got a little bit complacent and were a little lazy just because of the back-to-back Super Bowls thing. And I think they're coming to eat next year. As a Chiefs fan, of course, I'm going to say that. But we know Patrick Mahomes is going to be a consistent top 10 fantasy quarterback. We know that. Yeah, he's 29, but like I said, Penix is already 25. So, yeah, I'm taking Mahomes all day. And if I just have to give up an extra first to do it, that's easy money for me. Okay, and then we have Michael Penix Jr. and Tyreek Hill, straight up for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Although I do think Tyreek Hill's value is criminally low right now, even and this is in a 1 QB league, so this is a crazy trade in my opinion. But in a super flex league, I'd probably still do this just because I think JSN is going to eat next year. And I think Darnold is just going to slam targets to him over and over and over. Now, next up, we have Penix, George Pickens, and Jayden Reed. Both at the best case scenario, George Pickens and Jayden Reed are wide receiver 2s in their offense. Pickens just got traded to the Cowboys, is clearly behind CeeDee Lamb. Jayden Reed is presumably behind Matthew Golden, who they drafted in the first round. Then on top of that, you have Michael Penix. All of those guys, who I think George Pickens is around early to mid-second, Jayden Reed's around the same, and I think Michael Penix is worth probably a late first. So a late first and 2 mid-seconds for Lamar Jackson in a super flex league, 6-point passing touchdowns. Yes. Not going to lose any sleep about that. I will take Lamar from you and say thank you for helping me win the league. All right, so last up, we have a few days ago, Penix, a second rounder and a third rounder. Jeez Louise. For Drake May. Okay, so Drake May last year in his, Drake May's a little different from Penix, right? Because Drake May, one, is significantly younger with less injury risk. I will say, people forget Penix had like multiple season-ending surgeries, multiple season-ending injuries. So just take that as what you will. And Drake May also has a ton more rushing upside and looked better in the starts that he had last year. I know Penix only had a couple game sample size and Drake May had more than that, but Drake May was working with nothing. His best receiver was Kayshon Boutte, and his leading target receiver was, I believe, Hunter Henry. So guys, Drake May's the real deal. I actually traded him today, unfortunately, for Patrick Mahomes, and the deal's not that straight up, but it was basically Drake May and from Mahomes and some draft capital. I regretted trading Drake May, but as a Chiefs fan, I couldn't turn down that for Patrick Mahomes. So it's a quick side tangent here, but Drake May side here, younger, in my opinion, is going to do much better next year with the rushing upside, with the mechanics and overall polish that I saw last year. So all in all, smashing all these trades for Penix. If you can get any of these trades, absolutely do it. Okay, this one might be one of the most controversial takes that I'll have this offseason. We have Puka Nacua as my number one sell high right now, wide receiver for the Rams, obviously, if you have been living under a rock. So next up, 6'2", 210, absolute monster when he plays on the field. Okay, he got drafted in the 5th round by the Rams, not because he wasn't super talented, but because at BYU he was hurt all the time. Okay, so keep that noted. His rookie season, one of the best, if not the best rookie season from a wide receiver ever. That was a year ago in August, October, December, right? Okay, you saw where he finished last year, wide receiver 26. He missed, I want to say 4 or 5 games last year. Showed the injury concerns that people were worried about with him coming out of BYU. Look at his value. It's only gone up since he's shown that he's injury concerned, since they've signed Davante Adams, who, say what you want about Davante Adams, he's a target hoard. He's a target hoarder, okay? He wants the ball, and he will let your quarterback know he wants the ball. And with Stafford, he's going to have to spread the ball a little bit more than he's used to. On top of that, his future outlook is probably one of the worst in terms of fantasy futures for a wide receiver. One, he's 24, which I know that doesn't matter right now, but he has stated that he wants to retire by the age of 30. I know people are saying, oh, he didn't mean that. He said it, and I don't know why else I wouldn't believe it if it came from the man himself. Maybe he was being dramatic, whatever. That scares me. He's already talking about retirement at age 24. That concerns me a lot. On top of that, and speaking of retirement, we don't know how long his quarterback plays, okay? We don't. And Jimmy Garoppolo, say what you want about him, he's not a starting quarterback, in my opinion. Not anymore. And he's not durable enough to sustain a full season. He's proven that over his entire career. So once Stafford moves on as early as next season, we have no idea who Puka Nacua's quarterback's going to be. Yes, he's got Sean McVay as his head coach, but I just don't understand. There's so many red flags here, and he's going for such insane value right now. I don't know why you wouldn't ship him off for a package right now. It's insane. All of the red flags that I just told you guys, the injury concerns repopping up. We have no idea who his quarterback's going to be next year. On top of that, he says he wants to retire early. All of these things. And his value has only gone up since all of those things have happening. In my opinion, if you have somebody interested in Puka Nacua right now and they can give you what he's worth right now in terms of the Dynasty market, I'm absolutely slamming that trade. So lastly, let's go ahead and look at some of the trades. It's ridiculous, guys, because people love Puka Nacua. First trade here, we have Puka Nacua for the 106, the 107, and the 108 in this year's rookie draft. That's basically Quinshon Judkins, whatever tight end you want out of the bunch. This looks like it's a tight end premium league. Does that say? Okay, that says 6-point passing touchdowns. You can get Jackson Dart here if you wanted. Cam Ward, I've seen fall to the 106 if you're quarterback needy. Those 3 picks alone are worth significantly more than Puka Nacua, in my opinion. I'm smashing that if I'm a Puka owner, and thank you for the picks. I'm going to replace him, basically, with one of those picks. Next up, Puka Nacua straight up for the 101. I will say, I do prefer having long-term wide receivers that are elite versus my long-term elite running backs. That being said, I don't view Puka in terms of his eliteness as a long-term thing, like I've pointed out. I'm taking the 101 here. I love Achane Gentry as a prospect. I'm taking him over Puka Nacua. I know a lot of people are going to be surprised by that, but I'm so terrified of his future outlook, and I would much rather have pretty much the sure thing in Achane Gentry. Up next, this one's a little ridiculous too, guys. Puka Nacua in the 103 straight up for Brian Thomas Jr., who I believe is a better receiver, and Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think is more talented than Puka. We just have to get him a new quarterback and a new system where they're not using him as a vertical X receiver. This is a smash if you're a Puka owner. Give me Brian Thomas Jr. and Marvin Harrison Jr. They're both younger, and they both have way better future outlooks than Puka Nacua does. Okay, this last one, guys, is a little silly, I'll be honest. Puka Nacua for a 2026 first, a 2027 first, Terry McLaurin, who you replace Puka with, Dalton Kincaid, a 2026 second rounder, a 2027 second rounder, Trey Benson, and J.K. Dobbins. Okay. I'll try to break this one down as best I can. So basically, without any of the players involved, you're getting 2 firsts and 2 seconds value worth for Puka Nacua, which is already insane. Add on top of that Terry McLaurin, who I think is an early second worth of value, and I think he can put up some great numbers next year regardless of whether Debo eats or not. So I love that. You basically get the replacement on top of all these picks. Kincaid, who, you know, has had a rough go. He wasn't the starter his rookie season, and he played hurt all of his sophomore season. So this is basically the make or break year for him, whether we know he's good or not, as long as he doesn't get hurt again. So Kincaid in that offense, we'll see how he does, but I kind of value him as a mid to late second right now. Trey Benson, I think, is a late second worth of value. J.K. Dobbins is kind of an afterthought in this trade. He hasn't even signed with a team yet. Super injury prone, but he did have some big time weeks towards the start of the season last year. So, you know, maybe he's a wait and see kind of stash and see where he lands. But overall, he's probably droppable at this point. But overall, all these trades are absolutely insane value for Puka. And I've seen people offering this type of value, maybe not the last one, but the first 3 for sure in terms of value for Puka. And if you're a Puka owner, move off of him for that value immediately. And those are my top 5 dynasty sell highs after the NFL draft. Who are you looking to move on from before the hype fades? Drop your picks in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep it locked in right here on Bobby's Big Board for more Dynasty content all season long. Peace, guys.
Hey.